Today's webinar is how to build a profitable, reliable, and automated e-commerce engine using our WAC Services Exchange, our WAC Pro WS integration, and WebShop Pro shopping cart. My name is Dane Karsher. I'm a member of the WAC Consulting Group. Currently, I work out of the Fredericksburg or Washington, D.C. Metro office. What I want to go over is some of the different scenarios that we see out there that we've experienced over the years. So I'm going to start with crime scene one. Crime scene one is you don't currently have a web store. What we're seeing is our customers in certain industries are finding that they have shrinking sales. They feel like their market is shrinking, and therefore their sales are shrinking. And they're losing customers. They're losing customers because other competitors are offering more services. Services like access to information on the web, ease of being able to place orders. We also find that customers have orders coming in from numerous methods. People are sending orders through spreadsheets, they're hand keying orders, orders are coming in through EDI, they're coming in through fax, and all these different methods are causing our customer to experience problems. The consistency isn't there between all of those different methods of order entry. Some of those orders come in what seems to be a good form, and others have problems. And depending on the different type of method, they have different problems. Spreadsheets change every time a customer sends them to them, so they try to run the import, and it doesn't work half the time. So we get a high level of frustration. In Crime Scene 2, we see customers that have a web store. Maybe after you have a web store out there, you're now getting hundreds or maybe thousands of orders a day. All of a sudden, the lack of automation is becoming a problem. You're having a problem getting all of those orders out the door, picked, packed, and shipped. Web orders are now becoming a larger part of the business, and you all of a sudden realize that if that website goes down, your business is down. Okay, and maintaining that website now becomes a full-time job. You have maybe one, maybe two, maybe more people that are changing descriptions and editing content and getting it out on that website. As you realize that's a large part of your business, I see people investing more and more in hardware and support staff to support those websites. So initially it was okay to have that on a little machine in the corner, but now you realize that that's a significant part of your business. You can't do that anymore. You need to have it on machines that have backups and that are fault tolerant, have redundant drive arrays, have redundant power supplies. Now you have all of this hardware out there. You need staff to support that hardware. We're talking about very specific hardware that requires a high level of expertise. And so what we end up with is spending a lot of money on expertise and ability to be able to change that site. So as your site becomes more and more popular, you realize that you need to be able to drive traffic to it. So you need to have somebody that's focused on the content of that site and where your search results are, benchmarking that site to make sure that your search results stay above your competitors. So it becomes an issue of how many people and how many resources do I need to be able to grow traffic to my site? Do I have that expertise, and do I have that capacity? So lots of issues once you start getting into the web world. What's the verdict? You need to invest in more people to keep up. That's the first thing we see from our customers is, hey, we need to add more and more people. We figured out that if your site goes down, you're out of business. Not only are you not taking orders anymore, but those customers are immediately finding another place to buy that product because it's out on the web. You're now a commodity. So as soon as you aren't available, that's lost business that many times doesn't come back. They may come back when your site comes up to buy, but the thing they were buying at that moment, they went and found it somewhere else. You realize that every time the web changes, your site is affected. So if Google changes their search metrics, which they did 3 or 4 months ago, your site search results change, and immediately your traffic is impacted. That's something you can stay ahead on. But you realize the web is a number game. Those who play it well, they win. Most people don't play the game well. The majority of people out there that have websites, they get something out on the web and they say, we're done. We got our website out there. We've got a store people can come and buy. Okay, the people that win are the people that are out there figuring out how they can drive more traffic to that site, and they're constantly improving. That's a never-ending stream of changes. So our vision was to build a profitable, reliable, automated sales-generating e-commerce engine. We knew we needed an engine that would be able to be up 99.99% of the time. That was our goal. And what does 99.99% of uptime mean? That means that in the course of a year, we're allowed to have 52.56 minutes a year of downtime. So if we meet that goal, that means we can have less than an hour a year in downtime. We wanted to develop a set of products that would give you a single point of site maintenance so that you could go in and edit your data in your ERP, and that would flow to your site. I want you to be able to develop multiple unique and branded websites, not just a single site for your company, but maybe multiple sites for your company or your group of companies, or for your customers' businesses so that they can sell your products more effectively. We wanted to develop it on an independent web services driven architecture so that it wasn't reliant upon your internal systems. I think that's important in the 99.99% uptime. What's the cost of guaranteeing that? The cost is substantial. We're talking about multiple connections coming into your business. We're talking about multiple pieces of hardware that are all redundant. We're talking about environmental controls. We're talking about all kinds of different things that we would need to guarantee that uptime. As a matter of fact, even in the best data center available in the world, if that data center is sitting in one location, we don't feel comfortable making that 99.99% uptime guarantee. You really have to be spread across multiple data centers as well. Our vision was to create a system that would give you capacity to receive orders from multiple platforms, meaning not only just a web store that's out there sending orders into your system, but what if a company wanted to create orders and send those to you in a spreadsheet? What if they wanted to link their system directly to yours? What if they wanted to send systems, electronically to you? We wanted to not only give the capacity to receive orders from website, but to be able to give you one utility that you could use to import all of the orders coming in from all of these different methods so that everything came in one point of entry. We wanted the ability to be able to update different systems out there with applicable information. If you put your products out on somebody else's website, when their website pings your product, they might need to know if you have any available quantity. You might not want them selling your product if you don't have something to ship. So those sites need to be able to real-time access that information in your system. We felt it was important to provide SEO and marketing updates and mentoring. So our vision is to be able to not only provide a technical solution, but also provide a solution where we can provide benefit of continuing to optimize your search results and continuing to use the web and marketing tools and resources that are available in the industry to allow you to grow traffic to your site. We think it's not only important to have a hardware solution that is fault tolerant, but a web solution that's easily configurable, that we can easily tune as the industry changes, and to provide search and marketing updates and mentoring to you as a valued partner. Let's talk about a few different business models. A lot of our customers start out with a B2B solution. A B2B is a business-to-business solution, and in that case, a business might go onto your website and place orders. Those websites, through a set of hosted web services, send those orders back to your business. You pick, pack, and ship them and send them out to them. So your website's getting the order, it's coming into your office, your pick, pack, and shipping, it's going out to your customer. In a B2B site, most often there is a login where that customer logs in and their pricing might be pulled from your system. All of that is handled through these hosted web services. They might see information about their accounts receivable, about open orders. They might receive shipping, or might be able to go in there and find shipping information, when it's shipped, what the tracking numbers, and inevitably who signed for the package, all available within your web infrastructure. In a B2C site, it's very similar. This is business to consumer, and in this case, people who aren't currently your customers, they might be end users out there at home, and they go onto your website and place orders. The only difference in this case is oftentimes they don't need a login. They might not create a login until they're ready to place an order, and when they place that order and enter their information, that information most often is saved out on the website all by itself. When the order comes into your system, they might all come in as the same customer because you may not really want to track every individual consumer that places an order. You might. Those options are certainly available. But in most cases, we find that people do not want to track every individual. If you're selling thousands and thousands of customers a day, you probably don't want to keep track of that. The only thing you need to know is, did the product get picked, packed, and shipped out to that customer? And if that customer calls up, can you give a tracking number for their order and give them the information to say exactly what shipped out and when? So that's provided in a B2C implementation. Then we also have a couple of scenarios, and we've kind of named this on our own. I call one a W2B, a web to business. And it's kind of a hybrid of a B2C, and that's where you decide that you're going to provide your customers a service. So you have a customer that currently sells your product, but they don't sell it on the web, or maybe they have a web presence, but they currently don't have a web store. You can offer them through your set of tools a shopping cart or a web store where their customers can then come in. That web store is branded as their company. So let's say Acme is your wholesale customer, and Acme is going to put out a web store to their customers. So you offer them a web store. Your products get updated on that web store. Their customers drive traffic to that web, or come into that web store and place orders. They come into your system. You pick, pack, and ship them and send them out as Acme and fulfill that order for them to their customer. So in this case, you're providing Acme a web store, and they never have to touch the product. That order can come directly into you. You can pick, pack, and ship it. So in most cases, we're finding that our customers that provide these kind of services do them at a lower margin. So if Acme currently was getting 30% margin or 40% margin to sell your products, if they don't ever have to touch the order, you might offer them 20 points or 15 points. And it's just, all they're doing is driving traffic to the website. So it's a great deal for them. They have no outlay. They don't have any concerns over the inventory or pick, packing, and shipping. You're going to handle all of that for them, and you're going to do it at a lower margin business. So we find we have wholesale customers now, wholesale distributors, that are really growing their business by providing more avenue for their distributors to be able to sell the product. And this is one very popular way that's really building sales for a lot of our distributors. And then the final model that we have out here is E2B. And that's where we don't have a shopping cart at all, but we're using the hosted web services component. And companies take our hosted web services implementation plan, and they send their orders in that way. They might integrate it directly into their ERP, directly into their accounting system, where when they place a purchase order, that order automatically comes into your business. Actually, we find these integrations take customers, usually a course of about a week to integrate into their system. If they were going to send EDI orders to you, the typical implementation time of a EDI solution is 30 days. 30 days would be a typical minimum implementation time of an EDI trading partner. Here they can be sending orders to you within a week, and those orders are a whole lot less expensive than EDI orders. Once you've got this architecture in place, you're not spending a lot of money to maintain it. Those orders are coming in through your system, and you're pick, packing, and shipping them out to them or their customer. So let's talk a little bit about how that works, and then let's get in and take a look at some product. We've got computers sitting out here in the cloud. So what is the cloud? The cloud is a set of data centers hosted by different hosting facilities all over the world. And what we do is we put our components on those data centers. We might have those components loaded in multiple data centers in different locations. You might have one data center on the West Coast. You might have one data center on the East Coast. You might have one data center in Australia and one data center in Taiwan. Every single data center really can be disabled by one event. If there's let's say a flood or a tsunami or lightning strikes or a backhoe, a single backhoe can take out all of those redundant connections to that single data center, and there's absolutely no way we'll have you back up in less than an hour. If we have our system spread across multiple data centers, then even in a manual environment where we have it in other data centers but not operational, not running, we can just start that other data center, have the system repoint it to that other data center in minutes, so that other data center can be operational. Depending on the environment, depending on the cost, we can also have multiple data centers running all simultaneously where the data is spanned across those data centers. And again, when one goes down, your customers won't have any amount of time before they're being serviced by another data center. So the key is not only to use the cloud to be able to access more fault-tolerant hardware, but really to access hardware across multiple regions of the world. Okay, so on that hosted data center, we have hosted web services that allow the customer to import orders, get available order quantity, check order status, get sales tax, and we have services that talk back to your internal business. And in your internal business, we'll have a web server. That may even be the same as your accounting server. We may just install the web server right on there, and that web server is used to talk to these hosted web services. So when your internet connection is up, your web server can get orders from that hosted web service. When somebody tries to get order status, if your connection is up, it can go back directly to your live system and get the order status live. But if this connection isn't up, your hosted web services are always getting synchronized with your data. So we set those up on timers. You dictate what that time's going to be. And maybe every 15 minutes, it'll update inventory status and order status. Now, for your customer out there, 15 minutes is probably the same as real time. If you've shipped an order, once it's marked in your shipping solution as shipped, it's still sitting on your dock. It's probably sitting on your dock for hours, okay? Maybe longer, maybe days. So updating the tracking numbers every 15 minutes really not affecting their ability to see order status as far as your customers are concerned for most people. And inventory quantity really stays pretty much updated. Even if the inventory quantity is updated every 15 minutes, since we're looking at the orders that are out here and those orders are sitting out there, the orders that would be consuming that inventory would typically be out here on the website as well. That's not always, but that handles most of the cases. And the bottom line is, as long as this connection is there, your customers checking inventory status will be checking your system directly. So as long as you have a connection, they'll be getting real-time status. The only time they're ever looking at the databases on the hosted site are when your connection is not available. All right, and on your business side, it's pulling in orders real-time from those websites. So the nice thing is, at the end of the month when you close the month, if you want to isolate your systems so that orders aren't coming in and your web-based component isn't hitting your real system so that you can do database maintenance or SQL maintenance or internal system maintenance, you can just break this connection and your customers never know the difference. They're still hitting orders out there on the hosted solution out in the cloud, and as far as they're concerned, they can send orders they can get the inventory, they can check everything they need to check. They don't realize that your system is disconnected. Then when your system comes back online, it just resynchronizes. It goes and grabs all the orders that have been put out there and it brings them in at that point. So as soon as your close is finished, you reopen that connection and you're back in business. Let's go ahead and get in and look at some product. So let's start out with loading these hosted web services. The first component is WAC Services Exchange, and that allows your customer, what we do is we hand them this document. So this is if your customer wants to integrate with their internal system or wants to integrate their web store, or you're going to provide a web store to your customer. We'll give them this document, and this is how they talk to your system. So this document defines all of the services that are available, okay? And we can see here that it shows gives them a summary of how your platform is available. They kind of see that same picture I just showed you. We provide for them a WSDL, a Web Services Description Language, which is a way that they can access your information. So this gives them a way to access it from any platform. As a matter of fact, we have examples in here of how they access it using .NET, how they access it using Java, or how they access it just straight through HTTP. So this allows them, if they're in a Linux environment, a Mac environment, a Windows environment, for them to be able to access this information. The WSDL gives them a very easy way to access this. It exposes all of your methods just through that one document. So it allows them to go into their web program and say, hey, I want to import orders. And immediately the WSDL defines for them what fields they need to be able to import an order. So they have billing information. It might define for them all the different types of ship via. So in here, if you have types of ship via that's available, immediately those will be the only thing they can put in. When they go in and say billing information .ship via, it'll show them this list for them. Gets it all out of that WSDL form. So it makes it very easy for them to code. For those customers that don't have that type of environment, we also offer SOAP connections. And so all of it's defined in this document. So within import orders, here's all the elements. And if they want to hit it via SOAP, which is another way to send, they can create this packet manually. So this is an XML packet. And they can create it with all the proper information and send it to your system. And your system will respond to them. And this defines the responses that they get. So it's all defined here for them. They just take this document and they implement directly into using this document. So it's a pretty easy implementation, and it allows them, no matter what their environment is, to talk back to your system. So that's how we handle customers that either have a website already and they want to talk to your system, or they want to integrate their internal system with your system. So let's go to the shopping cart. So I'm going to take you to the next place. So the hosted web services, this is a way your customer can talk directly through those hosted web services to your system. Now let me change again, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you out to a hosted environment. So let's go here and let's go ahead and log in. And so even our demo system is completely out in a hosted environment. So I'm going to go out to that environment and I'm going to show you some different web stores. Let's look at a web store out here and let's talk about a couple of components. Let's talk about the shopping cart, and we'll talk about the integration into, in this case I'll show you Sage Pro. This particular shopping cart, actually Melanie put together just for our demo, so I asked her to put together a couple of different shopping carts. Now Melanie is our marketing person internally. She's not a web programmer, so she was able to use the shopping cart tool to create these shopping carts. So the first one she created for me was the coffee shop. So our Web Shop Pro, and she went out and grabbed some images and some inventory and created some categories and created some tabs across the top, and did all this in just the shopping cart design tool. So I think she spent about half a day, 4 hours or so, putting this one together. And I asked her for a wine site. I like wine sites because they show different ways to categorize product, and they show how you can have product categorized in multiple ways. For instance, what I see on my red wines, I would probably also see in, well, let's say California wines. So let me click on red wines here. So this Shiraz, that would be probably an Australian wine, right? So Shiraz is it is an Australian wine, and it's a red wine. And let's see, it should be in $0 to $20 as well, right? So these products can fit into multiple categories, and pretty much everybody within their website would want to categorize their products. All right, so if I click into, let's use red wines here just to keep it simple because that only gives us 3. So if I click into my Shiraz, I see I have a description here, and I have a longer description, and I can have customer reviews, and I might have, whatever information I want for this. Well, where's that information maintained? Well, let's go ahead and log into Pro, and I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that the integration works, and I'm going to show you where we're going with the integration. So when I log into Pro, I've got a couple of companies, and I'm going to go into Source Wines because that's what we would have hooked to this website. And I'll go into inventory control, and let's just go into item maintenance. And so what I'll show you here is the real-time integration. So in the real-time integration, this is popular with customers, and initially this is what everybody thinks they want. Everybody thinks they want a real-time integration where I can just come in here and I could change my description. So you see we've added some new fields in customer maintenance here just for the website. So I'm just going to take out a hard-hitting Shiraz, and I'll make it just hard-hitting Shiraz. Okay, and I'll save that out there. When I save it in the real-time integration, it asks me, do you want to update the site now? I'll say yes. What it did when I said yes is it actually called a web service, sent that information out to the hosted site. That web service goes ahead and updates the information on the site. So if I come out here and I just refresh this page, instead of down here my description being a hard-hitting, now my description is just hard-hitting Shiraz. So let's go back to red wines. Let's say I wanted to remove this from the site. I'll remove it. I'll go ahead and change my description back, and I'll save it. Now I've made it not e-sellable. All right, let's come back here, and let's go ahead and refresh this page, and it's gone. So it's no longer part of the site anymore. So the real-time integration allows us to, for the changes we make in Sage Pro, in this case, those changes get immediately pushed out to the website. Now, I'm okay with the real-time integration, and that has worked for most of our customers. And again, it's what people like to see up front. But I can tell you that our vision has really gone beyond the real-time integration. So let's go back here and let's look at WebShop Pro configuration. So this is an interface we're still working on, we're in development on, but this is really the integration I like. For one thing, when people edit products, oftentimes they change many descriptions at the same time, and that click and save, becomes a little cumbersome. So we like to have different ways to get that information out there. And in this case, I also said that I wanted the ability to create multiple sites. So if you offer a site to customers, or you have multiple websites just out there within your company, you may have different items on those websites. Maybe you have different types of inventory that are completely different and need completely different websites. Like maybe I offer apparel, and maybe I also offer marketing services. So I may have 2 completely different websites because they're focused at 2 completely different customer bases. So what we wanted was the ability to create multiple websites within a company. So let's go to Source Wine here. So within Source Wine, I see that I have a list of items that are part of Source Wine. We have a list of customers that have access to Source Wine. If it's a B2B site, this would be important. And some tabs I haven't even gotten around to yet, even prototyping. This is really just a prototype of this interface. But this is where you would set up all the various categories. and then you would assign those categories to items. So if I want to add items to my site, we want to have lots of filter criteria for figuring out which items belong to this particular site. So I can put in and filter it by ABC codes, product lines, miscellaneous codes, manufacturer. When I click next, it'll show me everything that doesn't exist for that site that matches that filter criteria, and then I can go check them all or just go and pick the individual ones I want. So there's actually not many there. It's not very exciting. Let's exit out of here, and if I deleted a few of these, so I'm going to go remove a few items from the site. So I'll remove this Bordeaux and this Brut. And now I'll go ahead and add some, and I'll just add those back in. So that's how I envision you updating that. And as a matter of fact, on this site also, on this page, we'll give you the additional information to be able to edit on this particular site, because you may want different descriptions and different pricing that's specific to this site. So all that's going to be maintainable here. And when you maintain this and change it, we'll probably just use the event timer that we use for grabbing orders and synchronizing information to synchronize that information back to the site. There's no reason to really update each item individually and take that time here. We can just let that happen through the synchronization. If it happens 15 minutes after you do it, that's really the same as real time. So we'll probably just keep the synchronization, and that's probably going to be the best way to update these, so you can go update sites massively. We also wanted to export everything into a spreadsheet, so this would allow you to export it to a spreadsheet, and then you can go edit that spreadsheet, and once you're done, you import from that spreadsheet. All right, so these are all ways that make it easier for you to be able to update groups of items and push them back to that site. So I see that as really the way of the future, because this allows you to very easily create multiple sites, to have different items available on those sites, or the same items available across sites, and to edit that information specifically to that site. So that's how we see really the future of our integration, and that's what our new integration is going to look like. Also, this component we're going to write as a web component so that we can really integrate this with any ERP. It's not just going to be Sage Pro. Currently, this interface you're looking at was prototyped in Sage Pro, but we're moving it out to the same look but on a web interface that would be launched from here. But if you're using Sage ACPAC or Sage PFW or even a non-Sage product, we can do the same link as long as we can get to a list of your customers and items and what information we would initially populate into these, like if you already have descriptions and pricing. All right, so hopefully that makes sense and gives you an idea of how the integration works. You can see that integration affects your website directly. Let's come back here and let's add the Shira back. All right, and I already changed the description back. Yeah. All right, let's make sure our Shira comes back onto our site. Yes, it does. All right, so that's a key component. So we see how information is being passed back and forth in web services. We see how the integration is affecting that site immediately, making it easier to maintain that site and the information that's out there. And we see how we're making it easy when you create a site. So when Melanie created the site, one of the things that she was able to do, instead of having to add all of these images and all these descriptions, she was able to just go in here and grab the items from the site and have it add all of that information immediately to the site, okay? As well as all the images that show up in here under the pictures. Right now there's only one image. If I added multiple images out there, when I click on the site, one of them will be the main image. That's what you'll see here, but all the other images would show up down here at the bottom. So if I had multiple views to the site, they would all show up immediately. All right, so pretty cool functionality. Pretty cool the way it all comes in and creates the site directly. But now when I create sites, I don't want them all to look the same. In this particular case on the wine site, she spent about a day doing this. She's not a web designer. In that day, she also added content. So as part of that spending a day on it, it wasn't just creating the look of the site. She had to create all the text in here for all of these items. All right, and you can see different things on the site that we have, like top sellers, join our wine club. We have an RSS feed that feeds in wine articles from a website. So you can actually see these wine articles are actually up to date. This was on 5/26, this was on 5/25. The last piece I want to show you is how we do content management and how we're able to change and configure the shopping cart to keep up. First off, this shopping cart right now is all developed in .NET. Okay, moving forward, we'll probably also have a Linux-based or PHP-based site. But right now, this cart is done in .NET, and we have the capability to make it look very different. So this is one that Melanie developed as a demo. This is one another customer used. You can see it looks very different than hers. Part of the reason that in our design of this shopping cart, one of the things that we were conscious of is being able to do things like create size and color grids, okay, and integrate this directly to your inventory. So if you're out of mediums and you don't want to show things that are not in stock, then you would take this off the list completely. So those type integrations are all included in there. But you'll see that these sites all look very different. Here's a Cricut site. And in this site, you see we have price breakdowns based on unit quantities. So all this is pulling directly out of the pro pricing. Okay, and again, sizes, and you can see here we have upcharges. So if it's a 2X, it actually adds $2 additional, and it puts that out here on the site. Here's a coffee site. All looks very different. You see the categories look different here. Only one of them is expanded when you come into the site. So when you click on this, it'll expand further if there's more categories underneath that. Here's a different site altogether. This is hair bows, okay, and this looks a little bit more familiar to Melanie's. This one looks completely different. So all of these are using our same shopping cart. So let's see how we make that magic happen. All right, so let's come back into here and let me just log in. I'm going to log in as an administrator first. And as an administrator, I'll get different capability. I'll get capability to edit this site. So I get a couple of buttons up here. I get site admin and I get page editor. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the site admin. This is the first thing that Melanie did when she created the site. So she went in here, put in specific information about the URL and where it was sitting and where emails needed to go. Then she picked a theme. And then the theme is how you get those sites to look different. And we actually have on here, we only have access to 3 different themes, but there are hundreds of themes that we can choose from, and even themes that can be purchased. And they're pretty inexpensive. For about $100 a pop, you typically purchase a theme. So once she's picked a theme, then she can set the individual colors. So she picked a theme and the color within those. That's what specified how these tabs looked and what features were available. But then she can go and change the individual colors. All right, she can create individual page templates if she wanted to, or edit the page templates that are out there. But the next thing she did is she went and she added pages. So if I click on root here, here are all the tabs that are out there. So that's how she got the tabs across the top. All right, if I look in, I can set up all kinds of different things. Now I'm not going to get into all the details here, but let me just show you some things we have built in. Things like setting up what payment types are available, what different credit card processors or checkouts you're going to use. Will we use PayPal? Will we use the Google checkout directly? Will we implement credit cards with Authorize.net, CyberSafe, LinkPoint, Sage Payment Services? All of these things are available right now for implementing credit card solutions. If I set up shipping, I can immediately hook real-time to FedEx, pick what rates I have, and put your account information here. It'll link directly to FedEx and get them real-time rates. Same thing with UPS. Same thing with US Postal. A lot of our clients like to put in tables for shipping. So everything within this dollar range gets a shipping amount, or everything within these weights or these number of pieces get charged. So you put in a table that defines what your shipping is going to be. You can also set up in the site to require shipping estimate, where it sends something back and your staff is required to give a shipping estimate back on that order. So for instance, if something needed to go out common carrier LTL. For taxes, we kept it pretty simple. You can add individual state tax rates. We do also have a web service for one of our customers where they use a service called CertAttax, done by CCH, and that service allows them to collect tax for every jurisdiction across the country. And so they base their tax based on street address. Okay, so, and that's the only true valid way to, if you had to collect sales tax everywhere, you really need to have a service like that, and that overrides this. So every time an order is placed, we call that web service that validates the address and returns the valid sales tax rate based on the address and based on all the products that are on the order. So that gets really sophisticated, but most people fall into this simplistic sales tax. So all of these things are built into the shopping cart. You can also add products and categories and set up attributes. Attributes is how we do sizes, but we use attributes for all kinds of different things in order to be able to group products together on the site that are really individual SKUs to your company. So things like people can relate usually to apparel, where I might have 3 different colors and 10 different sizes of a shirt, and I don't want to show 30 different items on the website as all individual items. I want to show one where they can select the color and size when they get to that item. So we use attributes to do that. You can set up product reviews and all kinds of different things in here. Gift certificates. We can turn on site metrics and use Google Analytics. We can send things to Frugal to get it to help maintain our site, and we have SEO built into the site. All right, so all of this is how Melanie went in there and in just the course of a couple of hours set up a functional website. Okay, she used the site admin. All right, so that's how we set up things in general. So let's go back to the site now, and now let's look at how we change the content on this page. So let's go into the page editor on this page. And that's how she got things like, say, this wine article feed on here. As a matter of fact, she just added this a couple of days ago. So she added this component, and she said, hey, here's a site that has wine articles. Let me drop that in there, and I want to put a max of 3 articles and have this 200 characters high, and let's put it out on the right-hand column. Okay? So that's how she added that wine feed here. If we wanted to subscribe to a newsletter, all right, so we might put a subscription block out here. So let's go out here, and I'm going to add a new block. There's a standard block. So I'm going to hit subscribe there. So now they can enter their email and subscribe to our newsletter. If we go back and look at these sites out here, we'll see sites that are 1 column wide. In this case, this has 3 columns on the site. We'll see sites with 2 columns. All that's defined here within this page. All right, we define where we put the menus. We define what types of category lists we put in here to be able to browse categories. In this case, they're all expanded out. Those are all choices we made when we set this up. If we want to move something from one place to another, so if I want to move the subscribe from here over to this block, I'll just delete it from over here on my right-hand column, and I'll go over to my left-hand column, and I'll add it over here. So I believe that was under standard blocks, subscribe. Okay, and there, my block is now added over here on my left-hand side. All right, so that's how we set up the different pages, and that's how we can also go ahead and go in and oftentimes manage content. You'll also notice on these pages that when I click into a product, here, let's just add this Chardonnay to the shopping cart. If I wanted the description moved up or anything like that, I come to this page and I enable the page editor, and I determine where I want everything to go. If I want the description and the price list brought up here like I saw on some of the other sites, this is where I edit that. If I want to add things like customer reviews or other cross-reference products, this is where I'll add it in here. Okay, so I see actually we have a cross-sell block down here. There's just nothing that's set up currently to cross-sell for this item. But if I had cross-sell items, they'd show up down there because I see that's already been added here as a block. So all these things are just available through the normal site editor. So what we wanted to give you was, again, the ability to easily create a website, how we manage the content on that web store, how we integrate to your data, and how your clients get access to your internal system. okay, through those web services. All of these are offered through our three components, our WAC Services Exchange, which are those hosted web services along with the internal web services, the WAC ERP integration component, which is what allows you to send information from your accounting solution to the website and keep the website updated directly from your accounting data. And then WebShop Pro is that shopping cart. Not everybody will use all three components. Some will use one, two, or three. So what's next? If what I've shown you makes sense, and if it seems like this would fit into your business, why don't you go ahead and give us a call and schedule a 15-minute call. You can either call Mel here at the office. Her number's here at 866-785-0268, or you can email Melanie at melanie.howell@wacCG.com. We look forward to hearing your calls. Again, my name is Dane Karsher. Give us a call here at the office. Contact your local WAC partner. We will work with them. We will work through your local office for anything that we would do on your behalf.